that because it doesn't
So
necessarily
it's time of day because,
of the types of trips that people are making.
which are what?
Many,
Assuming work, right?
yeah, many of them are work trips, some of them are not, they're for other uses, but also based on that with some of the recommendations that we didn't dive into around transportation demand management specifically, you know, is there an opportunity to spread that window out, for example, and that there, you know, there's quite a bit of actually infrastructure available, so how can it be better used to address those windows of time where it's the worst, and then being able to, without having to add more, there are areas where additional capacity may be needed, but really the focus is on how do you maximize the capacity that you have and address the time of day issues. And some of that is also diverting between modes and creating a mode shift situation and having more opportunity in order to conveniently make that mode shift, I'll say it that way. There are also, I mean, I think it's very clear that the railroad crossings are an issue of breaking down the system pretty quickly, and so I think emphasis on how to address that is not an easy solution and requires a lot more work, but those sort of back-to-back rail crossings in some of the heart of the areas is something that could possibly provide some amount of relief in terms of doing that. And there are different ways to look at that, but I think that's a big one. I think we also see opportunities for the bicycle and pedestrian improvements and having, again, just more options for those shorter trips in between neighborhoods and that sort of thing, and not having it be solely focused on that. And we could run down a list of a few more things. I do think that especially in terms, I know we've talked a lot about the signals, but an investment in the signal pieces and having that be more system-wide rather than corridor-based, I think is also one of the biggest quick win options.
So, and then from there, you identified 21 corridors, is that what we're?
Yeah, the 21 corridors, again, is beyond, we had pulled out already looking at the long range plan, so anything that was existing plus committed, so projects that are essentially already in the works, so this is beyond that. So thinking about some of the corridors where there's already planned and programmed projects that may feel like that's missing, this is in addition to, not in lieu of. So that might be something that should be clarified, is that there are already planned and programmed projects from that existing and committed list. And so this is looking beyond that area. When we looked at those high need corridors, it was already assuming that those would be in place.
All right, and most of those corridors are east to west, right?
I think it's pretty balanced actually between east to west and north to south.
Yeah, I would say so.
What was that?
It's pretty balanced between.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you've brought out some quick wins, but what are some of the big ideas? Like at one point, I even heard you guys were thinking about suspending or putting something above on Okeechobee.
Yeah. So the some conceptual big ideas that came through this one was taking into consideration the thoroughfare identification map that is part of the comprehensive plan. There were it had identified several interchanges between 95 and the Turnpike. So in taking that into consideration as something that's already been identified as an idea, is that's a lot of infrastructure in and of itself, just those interchanges. So is there a way to think about how you would connect those? We've gotten a lot of comments around that. But thinking about, again, more of that throughput piece, could you separate the throughput from the local access that's needed? And so that was one of the ideas that
So what other big ideas
very long term.
do you have?
The other piece we had in there was an opportunity for what we classified as flex lanes or flexible lanes, really looking at some of the larger corridors. Again, going back to that time of day issue, is there an opportunity to maybe have, transit lanes operate some times of day and then open them up for more users during other times of day in order to help with that flow and throughput, again, separating out people that are trying to make a longer trip on a corridor from those that have local access. It may help with weaving and some of the safety concerns as well.
So where do you foresee that being feasible? Because with the amount of intersections that we have, that would be almost a nightmare unless you do it on Southern. And even then, there's still intersections as you get east and as you get further
Yeah,
west.
so it would tie together in with how you do and look at the signal work within those and how you would have priority in the signals to be able to move within those lanes. Again, it's a conceptual idea that would absolutely require further study and looking at how that could work and which corridors it would work the best in, but it was really thinking about those time of day issues and providing, using the capacity in different ways.
What do you think is one of the highest transited roads in the county? Or what are some of the top? I'm assuming 95, the Turnpike, probably Southern.
US 1
Yeah,
is
US
one
1.
of them. I mean, there's been so many great plans already done and studies done around transit.
Right.
We did run a high-frequency model also early on in this to look at how much ridership would be generated if you move those headways from currently to an hour, to 30 minutes, 15 minutes, and so that's all in the report as well. But US 1 is one of them, and then, the 561 plan, for example, has identified several corridors
Right.
where the ridership not only has highest ridership today, but has potential based on what's coming in with land uses.
And where are most of these people going?
Work, school.
Which is usually where?
Oh, we
Well,
have the.
I mean,
Yeah,
my
we
question
have-
is, where are they all heading? They're all probably heading downtown West Palm, where's the majority of
Hubs.
the jobs?
Yeah.
Probably Boca, probably going up to Palm Beach Gardens. They're heading to a very specific destinations in the morning, right? Because they're going to work.
Right.
So based on that, a lot of this stuff that you guys sort of discovered, I think like most of us already knew. I think when we met, I gave you some of that information. And I know we have to quantify it and you have to do the, collection of plans, collection of data, and sort of go through that on your own because that's kind of what we were expecting. But I think we kind of already knew a lot of this stuff. And what we were expecting from you was more on how do we provide solutions to our taxpayers, the people that are writing, the people that paid for this particular plan. We are now on the second ask of more funding. Am I right? Tui? Yeah. On the second request of more funding. And all we have collected so far is a framework. And this is truly what this is. You have put together a system that we're going to collect information and we're going to evaluate, and then we have sort of steps and processes, which, by the way, government already has on some of this. But I guess and by the way, I'm going to air out my frustration. This has been a wreck since the beginning, and I'll explain to you why. I recall getting into an argument up here about discussing the RFP. Because all I wanted to do was to see the RFP before it went out on the streets. And for whatever reason, the previous administration did not want to share that with us. I voted, and I want to be clear about this, I had to vote on approving an RFP that I did not get to see. And the only reason, and I made that comment very clear, is because that man right there, Michael Bornstein, the city manager for Palm Springs, told me that it was okay, that it was good. In other words, we have more confidence sometimes in external people than internal people. The 7 of us that get to vote up here and say yes or no. With that same token, as we have gone through this process, I feel that the least people, the least stakeholders that have contributed or provided input into this process is this board. Up here, on your stat, you have met with us 18 times, whether it's in public meetings or one-on-ones. There's 7 of us. If you do 2 one-on-ones, that's 14. At no point in time have we had a chance to discuss some of these ideas, some of these concepts, but you've had the opportunity to have those with MCFEC. You presented some ideas out in the community hearings and public hearings that you've had. But at no point in time have we, this board, had a choice to discuss, to do a workshop, to talk, to bounce off each other. We haven't had that. And now today, which by the way, I already mentioned it, but 2 weeks ago, you brought this up to me. You said, hey, we want you to adopt this. And you handed me, or you emailed me, a 2,000-page document. And which, by the way, we have 3 public hearings this week. We have BCC yesterday. We have comp plan today, which we're at the first item. We haven't even finished. And then tomorrow, we have zoning. I am not a slow reader, but I don't know how I can get through that much information in 2 weeks. So I'm not anywhere near of being comfortable with this plan or this framework. And let's call it what it is. It's a framework. We have building blocks that we are now going to start, peeling back the layers and trying to figure out how do we prioritize, how do we fund, how do we do all of these things. But where we're at today, it's a good start. I expected us to be here about 6 months ago. 6 months ago, I laid into you guys again because you did not meet my expectations. We were going through slides about the update, and we were just collecting information, and we weren't going anywhere. But now this is the second time that you're coming back and asking for more money. So let me ask you this about the contract that we entered. Is it time-based, or is it deliverable-based? Because if it's deliverable-based, I don't know that we're there. All of the deliverables have not been met.
So it's both, but more likely the deliverable-based. And again, there are specifics that, again, the team has come up with. Some of these projects will need to have more detailed, vetting, especially among the different communities that's out there. But again, what we're asking for is just to continue to discuss this with other groups and to come up with more details.
But that's not what you're asking. What you're asking today is for us to adopt what you're calling a master plan. And once we adopt something, then we have to adhere and live by it. If not, we just wasted money. So we need a product that in fact it is what we want it to be, and that then we're going to adopt, and that then we're going to use as a guiding document to solve transportation issues moving forward. Because if not, then we just spent $1 million out the window with no significance.
So yes, understood.
Right?
And like I said before, this is something, if it's not, we're constantly updating the plan. And it is, again.
I'm going to take a step back to you, and I apologize. Are you shocked by the comments that this board has made today?
No.
Do you think you were ready to present today? I don't think you were, because based on what I'm hearing from my fellow commissioners, you're not anywhere near being ready to adopt. And you should have known that when you met with us.
Yes, understood.
Okay, I yield my time. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I share my fellow commissioners' frustration, and I think you've heard me say this over and over again. Even at the beginning of this meeting, I mean, we did a lot of time talking about all the people we've talked to. We do that a lot, but that is the same thing that has been repeated and has gotten us no further. Why I was very specific. What is the plan? What are you suggesting? And what are those suggestions based on? And again, to my question of why isn't the Midwestern community a part of this as well? Why are we not seeing real data? For $1 million, we should be so much further than this and have so much more information. And all I keep hearing about is all the talking going on. And yes, collaboration is absolutely important, but not a year worth and $1 million worth. This has to, we need to stop, just keep spending and spending. We need real information. And I think the whole thought of this, when we even brought up the countywide master transportation plan, is I think we get our our inboxes are full of complaints of traffic congestion. Now, I do agree there are different solutions in different areas, whether it is downtown or out west, no matter what that is, but we absolutely need to solve the problem. Our infrastructure is behind, and we need traffic congestion relief. And nothing presented, and to Commissioner Weiss's point, none of us brought up autonomous vehicles. None of us have brought up people movers. None of us on this board has brought up so many things in this plan. What we need are realized things. And again, I absolutely agree with the value for money. If you bring to us and say, hey, if we do this, this will give us this much traffic congestion, that's real data. That's things we can make decisions on. That's information that we can then decide what we want to push forward. But the big problem that everyone it is traffic congestion. Now, whether that is multimodal, whether it is PalmTran, no matter what it is, but we need the information to do that. I agree, I am not ready to adopt this master transportation plan. It does not give us solutions to what this board has repeatedly asked for. It absolutely doesn't, and it takes into all these considerations of things we've never asked for. So again, whether that is more meetings with us on a public, so everyone could come here, but we need to be able to put something in place for future. We need to not only catch up on the infrastructure, and we need to plan for the future. But there has to be a value for that as well. When we are ranking these projects, if we can have how much traffic congestion it would relieve, how much money does that particular item, is it gonna cost us? Then we can appropriately rank what should be done, what needs to be prioritized, and move forward. Is there something in this that I am missing? What have you been trying to calculate and get forward with all these community meetings?
Yeah, I think that's one of the challenges is balancing it out because like you pointed out, this board did not talk about automated people mover, for example, but the stakeholders did. And so there were different things through this process, iPark 2.0, for example, very pro-transit, very different ideas of how to move people throughout the county. And then we talked to the board, and then we talked to the public. So balancing all of those things out, bringing it together in this master plan was
And I think
the approach that we had to take.
taking in all those ideas is amazing, but then putting them in a ranking list of how much traffic relief for how many dollars that will cost us is ideal. It is absolutely, we can have a million ideas, but again, how much relief do we get from that idea and how much money is it costing us? And those are going to be the two biggest factors going forward. And it was said, 96% of our people are using roadways. If there's ways to get more people off the road that has been proven to work and we have that information, bring that to us. We absolutely need information. I haven't heard a consensus from this board. Commissioner Weiss was going down motions and not. Were you making a motion, or were you saying which ones you would support, Commissioner Weiss? And I have two lights on before we do this. We have multiple lights on, excuse me. I just want to ask Commissioner Weiss, were you making motions, or were you saying which ones you were support or against?
I was saying which ones I would support or against,
That's
but I
what I
would be
thought.
happy to make that motion.
let's finish comments, or, okay, well, I don't remember exactly which ones he made and didn't, but Vice Mayor Woodward would like to second them. Would you like to hear comments? Sure. Commissioner Marino, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't believe that when we started this process, we asked them to put a dollar amount to anything. So
Fair.
I don't want that to be a sticking point now because it wasn't something that we asked for. But I think if we're going to give you more time, you need to give us return on investment. Okay?
Absolutely.
So that would be, if we are going to do this, that has to be part of what you bring back to us. And it is very important because if the return on investment isn't there, then the project goes from being top of the list to being bottom of the list. How you do that, you're the experts, we are not. So that is up to you to decide. I would agree with the motions that have been made, but again, I would also like to go back to primary, supporting, and screen further, because those really speak to the issue. And if it is something that's primary, but all of a sudden you come and it says, there's no return on our investment, it goes to screen further, and screen further in your document here is 2050. It's not today. So I will agree with the motions that are made, but I would also like, if we could amend the motion to make sure that the menu emphasis reads primary, supporting, and screen further, that would make me very happy.
Commissioner Weiss, would you restate your motions, please?
Thank you. I would make a motion to adopt receive the Countywide Transportation Master Plan, to adopt a resolution encouraging municipalities, stakeholders, interested state agencies, and other taxing authorities to continue to be engaged in a collaborative effort with each other for the successful implementation of the master plan, and to direct staff to bring back a negotiated scope of work for additional services for WSP for the implementation of the countywide master plan, and for the BCC to review and approval at the September 24th zoning meeting.
And for clarification, we are not adopting the countywide master transportation plan. We are just doing a receive and file on it. And then we are going to adopt the last two, which are the resolution encouraging municipalities and giving staff direction. Correct? Okay. And then Commissioner Marino was also adding
When we do
primary.
item number 3, when you bring back the negotiated work and the implementation, I want those to read primary, supporting, and screen further, not
Supporting and
whatever
screen
those
further.
flowery words were that you had it. Because these are more descriptive and more important. Thank you.
And can
And
I
if you-
just ask that we just take each motion separately, please?
Okay, so let's do, for now, does anyone have an objection with us just doing a quick receive and file? I'll entertain the motion for receive and
I
file.
do. Yes, I do, because we have, it was beautifully said by my colleagues, and I like the return on investment. They haven't finished their project yet. We paid for it, we haven't received it yet. So if we receive and file, we're receiving and filing something that has not been done yet.
We're not
Why
at-
don't we give, is there any issue that would allow them another, they want to do it. You've worked hard on this, the staff has worked hard, right? Or not? You have, right? Do you want to finish it? Do you want to give us a return on our investment? Do you? Yes, of course they do. So I love what you said, Commissioner Marino, on a return on investment. This is taxpayer investment. We've received a lot of beautiful data, but we haven't received, as you said, Mayor, solutions, and as Commissioner Flores said. So is there any reason why we can't give them a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to give us what our return on investment? I know this fellow may not, you'll be here. You're going to come, you'll be here. But I think that you're almost there, and I think that what you need to do is just finish it so that then we can receive it, we can approve it.
Commissioner Sachs, we're heading right where you want to go. We're not adopting the plan, we're just
Good.
doing the receive and file for the paperwork currently.
And then they will come back.
And we will, those are in the future motions. The attorney asked that we take them separately.
Okay, so and we'll give them a date certain to come back so that we can get our ROI, and we can talk to the taxpayers and see exactly what we spent their money on. And with that, I like it.
Commissioner
Sort of, but-
Flores?
Sorry.
So I guess this question is for our attorney, is by receiving and filing this, does that do anything with the contract and the deliverables? Because if it does, then I think our attorney, our resident attorney here on this board has a point. And in addition to that, I would like to see deliverables compared to what was in the contract. So
So unfortunately, I am not familiar with this contract, so I cannot answer this
So
question.
do you think that maybe we should hold off on the receive and file?
I think maybe let's just postpone receive and file for now, and we can go ahead with the other motions.
And with that being said, if we are not adopting this, I would have a hard time passing a resolution telling a municipality to go ahead and adopt this. So I think the second one is mute for me.
If I may,
Right.
Mayor and board members, the contract has deliverable task, which has been completed. You know, up to this point, there are specific tasks that need to be completed. If the board feels that that is, it's in page 22 of your attachment number 4. Those are the scope of services that's been worked on for the last year. And several of those scope has envisioned to have that go further to implement some of the vision framework projects, corridors, however that may be. So those tasks, they've done the public engagement, that's a deliverable. They've done a corridor analysis. They've also, you know, the additional money was for additional 5 public meetings that were requested. That was not part of their proposal. So, and also the futuring concepts that were in there, that was done in February. Some of the meetings, we had one additional meeting for the previous one meeting. We had 4 meetings for this last summit. So again, there are tasks and there are deliverables in the scope. We now are looking at some additional scope to get the cost benefit, because that's what we're heading, because we need to have that for the board to be able to weigh in on that.
Tweety, I apologize, Mayor. A cost analysis to what?
To the corridors that they're going to identify are the ones that you're
Orders?
looking
We
at.
haven't even prioritized the projects.
The
So you're
project-
gonna do a cost analysis of 2,000 projects?
No. What we're asking for is specific to those 21
Right, so you need,
corridors.
I think you need some guidance from this board as to the things that we want to prioritize to then go do a cost analysis.
At least some cost analysis needs to be done before the board can make the decision. That's what I'm hearing.
I completely agree, but I think you're putting the cart before the horse, because if we haven't been presented with possible solutions.
Yes.
We have not prioritized what those solutions are that we may want to consider, so that then you can go do a cost analysis. Otherwise, you're just gonna go do a cost analysis or a feasibility
Yes, of
study on
course.
2,000 projects?
No, of course not.
Exactly, that's my point.
I think, yes, continuing the discussion is one thing also, but I think to be able to get to the solution for you eventually down the line, there will be that. So that, I'm just summarizing in a larger scope of things for those what would be in the cost analysis as part of the additional services, that's all.
I understand where you guys want to go. I want to know that the deliverables in this contract
Yes.
and the first supplemental that we did
Sure.
have been met.
Yes,
Is that okay?
yes, we have that, and we'll be able to give you some more information on that.
Deputy Administrator Pat?
Couple things. First of all, I want to emphasize, yes, we're comfortable that the contract meeting the deliverables that were required in this timeframe have been met. Part 1. Part 2, Commissioner Flores, absolutely hear what you're saying. I guess as we're taking this part on, would also seek the board's direction. You've heard from our municipal partners and representation from MCFIC. Does this board want to hear from the cities in presenting their thoughts as well on it? Or does this board want to run it through themselves first, and we take that to the body? You heard them talking about hopefully getting into it by the end of the year. There's that piece that's out there. Further to the return on investment piece, there's a function of cost. We didn't cost these. Guarantee you're not going to get engineered costs on it, but to establish some of those baselines for those returns, we need that as well. Agree 1,000%. We need to know which ones first, but where do we want to start?
Can't you bring us the recommendations from MCFIC to this board?
We absolutely could, but it would be returning to them, starting, if the direction from the board was starting with this larger one, breaking it down into points, hearing what they have to say, returning to the board, and they've recommended 5, 10, 20, whatever, however it shakes out, and that starting point.
Commissioner Powell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I've nearly forgotten what I was hoping to discuss. A couple things. To lower the temperature in the room, all right, let's pull back just a little bit and understand that this is when you start doing a countywide transportation master plan for the entirety of the county, I do understand that's a huge and comprehensive undertaking. The challenge, as Commissioner Flores indicated, was deliverables. Twee, you did indicate that there's a set of deliverables that you believe this team has met. I think that what we should do is compare and contrast the proposed deliverables to what has been met thus far. That way we know where we're at. If there are additional deliverables that the board wants, I think we need to iron those out. We're not a workshop, but we're in a public meeting now. This is an opportunity where we can all discuss what we want to see happen, what we believe proposed outcomes should be. So this is, I think, an opportunity for us to discuss what we would like to see. And because the consultants are here, it's your opportunity as consultants to tell us whether that is feasible or not, right? Because I know it takes manpower to deliver on some of the things that we're requesting. In essence, we've talked about corridor studies and how to improve some of these corridors. If we're going to look at a cost to do that, what is the cost today and then the cost that it may be in the future? Commissioner Marino indicated the 3 different tiers, and some of these things that we're talking about 50 years in advance. And the truth is, some of these projects will take 50 years because planning in a whole and comprehensively, we're not going to get it done in a week or 2. We would love to be able to improve how traffic works in Palm Beach County. Henceforth, the reason I asked the question earlier with regard to implementation, to see when we evaluate as projects are implemented or put in play, to be able to evaluate where we were and how we're starting to move in what direction. I do also understand that the county is going to continue to grow. There's more and more people moving here. There's cranes all up and down downtown West Palm Beach, and houses are being constructed. But how do we implement in a manner that we're able to grow and sustain in a manner that when we continue to grow, we see improved opportunities to move smoothly through traffic. So if the consultants believe that they've hit the deliverables, I mean, this is an opportunity where we put those up and say, okay, have we hit them or not? As opposed to, I don't think it does anybody any justice to say, well, we want this, you didn't do this, and why are we wasting a year, right? Show us the deliverables, let's see what we hit, and if there's additional deliverables that we would like to get to, this is our opportunity as a board to work those out, to determine where we're trying to go and figure it out in a process so we get there together. Because if not, we will continue to go around in circles, and I don't want to go in circles. I would like to get things done. I would like to keep moving forward. And I'll be truthful. Planning, especially comprehensive planning, entails not just traffic. Of course, that's why we have a comprehensive plan. There's a number of different elements. future land uses. Land uses will change. There's housing issues, but traffic and transportation is just a part of that. But all of these things have to be intertwined in order to get to where we're hoping to go. And that comes with us working together. And it's comprehensive. It will take more than just the consultants here who are working on traffic. And then you're working with 39 municipalities, which, we change from day to day. I mean, I don't agree with myself from day to day. So, agreeing with municipalities and people who you work with is going to be very difficult. So if it's possible, in a nutshell, let's look at I'll break it down. The deliverables that we were hoping to have had today, and then to take those, see if they've been met, and then if there's additional deliverables we'd like to see, let's go towards those. In addition, we're considering spending additional dollars. We have a budget, and we've been cutting items out of the budget. Do we have the funding to continue that? If we do, then, if we don't, we need to discuss. If we do, we need to figure out where it's coming from. I'll leave it at that.
Commissioner Marino, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to go back to one thing. You all, WSB, were chosen because you are experts in this field. You've done this before. You were not tasked with coming up with a cost aspect at all. So I want to remind that of the board. You were never tasked with that. So that is not a deliverable for today. What I would like to see in the near term is that if we're going to come up with costs, you do it based on, is it a primary? Is it supporting or screen further? I think you take, how many of the 2,200 projects did you consider primary?
I don't know off the top of my head, but we can find out.
So that, if we're going to try to narrow the scope, my suggestion would be if you all considered it because of the input from the board, the input from the stakeholders, the input from the municipalities, if it's considered primary, it means it's important. It means it should have a cost related to it. If we can go and cost the primaries out, I think we would have a benchmark as to where we need to go in the future. So that would be my suggestion. If we are going to increase your workload, the workload should be based on what is the good return on investment, and you should use the primary projects that you have listed. So, thank you.
Vice Mayor Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Kind of been taking in what the board has been saying on some of this, and I do agree. I think we need to be realistic with what the deliverables were, what was in the contract, and if those have been met, I don't know if we're deciding that today, if that's something you need to pull up and show us, because I'm not sure which attorney was over this contract. But if the deliverables were met, then, we need to receive and file if that has been done. If we want to make some changes, I think we as a board need to be very specific. This is our time to be very specific. And if the goal is to kick it to McBeck and have, a future conversation, I think there's two categories that matter a lot. One's going to be locations, so certain roads, intersections, certain areas that are true pain points, where the highest density, and at rush hour, it's a thing. I mean, every morning and afternoon, we know where those pinch points are, and we all have to sit through it too. So the locations, but then the second part's going to be like the modes, whether it's, are you saying public transportation will help alleviate it? Is it smart signals? Is it both? It's something else altogether. So they're two different things. And if we're going to prioritize this, I mean, this is not a big C countywide project. This is little C county, all of us. And we may not even be responsible to pay for some of these priority projects that you're going to put forth. If it's something that's a West Palm Beach city, in their city, their road, I don't see why not that we don't care, but it's not we're not a funding source for that. maybe we become a partner in it, depends, but, I mean, if it's something in the city of Boca Raton, if it's one of their roads, and I live in that city, and it's all in theirs, but we're identifying it as that's a pain point right now, and Glades Road getting to the turnpike, I know that's a pain point. What can we do to help that? And you mentioned Plex roads. There'd be like major changes on that, but if it's 5 lanes coming, east in the mornings and 5 lanes going west in the afternoons, however that shapes up, that is a potential real solution for that very specific road to get people to the turnpike and back. So, and again, that's not us, because, well, actually, that might be a little bit of us. No, that's state road. Glades is state road. So then we're appealing to the state. How do we do this? And it's in the city. So again, some of these, we need dollars kind of attached to this. Where do we get the biggest bang for the buck? But again, it may not always be us that has to pay for it. But we need to let those cities know, hey, this is what you can start working towards, and you start putting grant money out or go to the state or whatever you need to do to help get funding for it. But again, it moves the people in this county. So what is it we need to do to move the people? So if we've met the deliverables, I am for us moving forward and paying this part of it, receive and file, whatever has to happen. If that's not today, if it needs to come back because we want an attorney to look at it, I'm fine with that. But my ask, if it goes to MCBEC, whoever you go to after, what you bring to us, bring us the biggest pain points with the highest density, the worst congestion in the mornings, in the afternoons. Like, let us see countywide, wherever that is, it is. It doesn't matter whose district it is or what city it's in. Where are the people sitting in traffic every single day? And rank those for us. And I mean, it doesn't have to be 1 to 10, but if it's top 10, all of these, every single day, people just park. What can we do to help those? And then give us those modes. And we need feedback from the other cities on that too. And when you bring us those, then we can look at a cost analysis, because you can't do a cost analysis for 2,000 projects. But what's the biggest bang for the buck? And us that word, I can't say it right now. Together, we'll work for solving that. And then we can work on dollars and how we pay for this stuff. But that would be my ask. If we're going to kick this and what comes back to this board, these are my specific asks so that we can prioritize this and then and actually start planning these projects.
So we have gone back and forth, and without, I guess, clear direction on the receive and file versus adopting the plan, the option is to postpone, according to the attorney.
Yeah, so it looks like there's a motion here to come back next month, but I'm not sure if that's going anywhere, but I think we could bring it back next month, and with...
Hold on. Is a month enough time, do you think?
So, this is what I heard. We need to come back to make sure that the task and the deliverables are met. We need to come back with the items that are not within the scope and identify those in different categories so that you can have an idea what you need to have to move this forward, whether it's to receive and file or to adopt. And the two parameters are really looking at, of all the projects, whether it's the 2000 or the 21 corridors, we need to identify those projects and break it into location, as well as the different modes that will further alleviate congestion. If some of
How
those...
much traffic congestion relief?
Yes, so with that, as those projects are identified in the locations, we also need to have a separate category in which we need to identify if there are funding or there are projects that are already being worked on in the works within the next, 5 years or so within the municipality, what asking of the county with those municipalities would want to help further that along, right? So that's what I have so far. But other than that, if there's anything else I've missed, I think we can probably maybe come up with those items in 30 days. And I guess the meeting would probably be up to your discretion. 30 days would bring us to probably the zoning, the 24th meeting. I don't know what the agenda is for that, but I can certainly coordinate with zoning as staff for that.
Commissioner Flores?
I just want to make sure that when you come back to us, it's more of a workshop style, so that when we're looking at priorities, we can discuss it mutually to see where we as a board feel that it's a priority. Sort of like TPA. How long is our priority list for our 5-year plan? It's like 200 projects, right? So sort of like that. So that way we can discuss and we can prioritize and we can, and also how many people is it gonna, touch? Because if you know what I mean. All right, thank you.
And it's difficult to balance this because within, for instance, in the Western community, we know there's roadway connections, but we have to navigate through which are those that we need to concentrate and talk with ITID as well as other folks. So there's a lot of things. And as far as questions from the audience, we're not doing anything to the comp plan yet. We're just looking to this. And then further down the line, as we need to tweak the comp plan, we'll do that in a public forum. So.
Commissioner Weiss.
Yeah, thank you. I think we just need to, not to belabor the point, but so many of these projects cross multiple jurisdictions. When you look at a corridor, it's going to cross multiple jurisdictions, and so I think it is, we can prioritize them, or they can be prioritized based on a cost, but if a jurisdiction doesn't have the funding available, everybody around them can make the investment, and you're still going to have a problem. And so this is complex. I think the idea, though, that we can come up with a list of priorities and what the cost is, but unless everybody's on board and saying, yeah, we're all going to do it, and we're going to do it within this time frame, right? We'll be spinning our wheels and spending money. So it does have to be collaborative in those cases. And I think that it's, and ultimately, I mean, this is you've gone through and you have identified, I mean, and as my colleagues have said, we know what our pain points are. I mean, but we don't know what the possible solutions for those pain points are, and that's really what we need help identifying. And transit's gonna, if transit, how many cars are we gonna remove from the road? How fast do we have to do that? Or if it's signalization, that's gonna increase or decrease travel times by 10% or whatever you guys can, the models can estimate. But at some point, we gotta get there, but today, that's not where we're at. That's not what you were expected to bring back to us, and so, anyways.
So TWE had summarized everything that we had, and I haven't heard any additions or removal of that. Clerk, did you get what TWE had said? And so do we want to adopt that as board direction to bring us back in approximately 30 days? All the things we've discussed?
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate board direction to staff to do that.
Mr. Ricks.
Mayor, I know you're commenting in terms of coming back with prioritization based upon traffic. Just reminding the board that you adopted a safety action plan in May, and based upon accident data, top 20% accidents, prioritized 5 corridors, and the board approved also trying to get an $11 million grant for those 5 years. So that piece of information will be woven into this prioritization that you want to see coming out forward. But that's a key aspect that's overlaid with the countywide master transportation plan.
Thank you. Are those funded, Mr. Ricks?
Well, we applied for the grant in May. We're waiting to hear back from the federal government. And part of that grant is also as a safety in town at Okahili Park.
Thank you. Okay, we are concluded with this. You're clear on direction. Thank you. Would you guys, Guys, let's come back at 2:10. Let's take an hour. We'll come back. It's going to be a long one. Yep, 1 hour at 2:10.